Vivian Sterling swept through the lobby of the Grandview Hotel, her blonde waves cascading over her shoulders, catching the light from the crystal chandeliers. Her fox-like ears twitched beneath carefully styled hair, alert to every conversation around her. Her tail, striped like a tabby cat's, swished elegantly beneath her designer dress. A dress she'd bought on credit, betting on returns that hadn't yet materialized. She'd perfected the art of looking wealthy while drowning in debt. Her keen ears had become her greatest asset, picking up whispers of fortune and opportunity wherever she went. That's when she heard it. Mr. Ashford just purchased the entire penthouse floor, a concierge murmured to his colleague. Paid in cash. The owner says he's never seen anything like it. Vivian's ears perked forward. Her emerald eyes scanned the lobby until they landed on him, a man in his late 30s, wearing a simple gray sweater and jeans, standing by the window with a worn leather bag. He looked unremarkable, almost plain, but the concierge had set his name, Ashford. She'd done her research on wealthy families. The Ashfords were old money, the kind that didn't need to prove anything. This must be one of them, she thought, playing at being ordinary. Perfect. Vivian accidentally bumped into him near the elevator, dropping her purse with practiced precision. "Oh, I'm so clumsy," she exclaimed, her tail curling apologetically as items scattered across the marble floor. "Let me help," he said, kneeling to gather her belongings. His voice was warm, unassuming. "Thank you so much, Mr. Just call me Daniel," he replied, handing her the purse with a gentle smile. "Vivian?" she purred, extending a delicate hand. "Are you staying here? I haven't seen you around before." "Just moved in, actually. Still getting my bearings." She placed a hand on his arm, her fingers lingering. "This place can be overwhelming. Maybe I could show you around. There's a wonderful restaurant on the top floor. My treat." Daniel's dark eyes studied her for a moment. She felt exposed, as if he could see through her carefully constructed facade. But then he smiled. "I'd like that, but please let me pay. I insist." Vivian's heart raced with triumph. The hook was set. Over the following weeks, Vivian orchestrated their relationship with surgical precision. She'd learned Daniel's routines, his morning walks through the park, his preference for quiet coffee shops over trendy cafes, his habit of reading philosophy books in the hotel library. She made herself indispensable, always appearing at just the right moment with just the right suggestion. "Daniel," she called one evening, her ears perking as she spotted him in the lobby. "I was just thinking about that Italian place you mentioned. Would you like to go tonight?" He looked up from his book, that same gentle smile crossing his face. "I'd love to, Vivian. Give me 10 minutes to change." At dinner, she wore a dress that cost more than her rent, another credit card stretched to its limit. But investments required capital, she reminded herself. "Tell me about your family," she prompted, twirling pasta on her fork. "You mentioned your father was in business?" "Was, yes. He passed away a few years ago." Vivian's ears drooped sympathetically, though inside she calculated, inheritance, no parental oversight, perfect. "I'm so sorry. That must have been difficult." "It was, but it taught me a lot about what matters." His eyes held hers. "What about you, Vivian? What drives you?" "Security," she answered, allowing a vulnerability she didn't feel to color her voice. "I grew up with nothing. I just want to never feel that helpless again." It wasn't entirely a lie. She had grown up poor. She simply omitted the part about her expensive tastes and mounting debts. Daniel reached across the table, taking her hand. His touch was warm, genuine. "I understand that more than you know." That night, back at his penthouse, the city lights sparkled below them. Daniel poured wine while Vivian explored the space, noting the expensive art, the designer furniture, the view that cost millions.
"It's beautiful," she breathed, moving close to him by the window. "It is," he agreed, but he was looking at her, not the view. When he kissed her, Vivian responded with practiced passion. His hands traced the curve of her spine, fingers gentle as they found where her tail emerged. She shivered, not entirely from calculation this time. "Stay night," he whispered against her neck. "Yes," she murmured, her tail wrapping around his waist as she pulled him toward the bedroom. The sheets were silk, the bed expansive. Daniel was surprisingly tender, his touches exploratory rather than demanding. He traced patterns along her arms, kissed the sensitive fur at the base of her ears until she gasped genuinely. "You're incredible," he breathed as she moved above him, her blonde hair falling like a curtain around them. For a dangerous moment, Vivian almost forgot this was a game.
3 months into their relationship, Vivian had moved into Daniel's penthouse. She'd quit her job. Why work when she had him? Her credit cards were nearly paid off, her wardrobe had tripled, and she'd started dropping hints about rings and future plans. But something nagged at her. Daniel lived lavishly, but worked nowhere. He took calls but never discussed business. He wrote checks that cleared immediately but had no visible company or investment portfolio she could discover. "What exactly do you do?" she asked one morning over breakfast, trying to sound casual as her tail flicked with curiosity. "This and that," he replied vaguely. "Family investments mostly manage themselves. Why do you ask?" "Just curious about the man I'm with," she said sweetly, though her ears tilted back with suspicion. That afternoon, while Daniel was out, Vivian searched the penthouse. She found nothing. No business documents, no bank statements, nothing that confirmed the wealth she'd assumed. Just books, simple clothing, and a locked desk drawer she couldn't open. Her phone buzzed. Her friend Cassandra, another hybrid with Lynx features, had sent a text. "Did you see the news? The Ashford fortune is gone. Family declared bankruptcy last year. Scandal everywhere." Vivian's blood ran cold. Her fingers trembled as she searched online. There it was. Headlines from 14 months ago. Ashford empire collapses. Ponzi scheme revealed. Family fortune lost. No. No, no, no. She was still staring at her phone when Daniel returned. "Find what you were looking for?" he asked quietly from the doorway. Vivian's ears flattened against her head. "I don't know what you mean." "Vivian." He sighed, setting down his bag. "I've known what you were from the beginning. Did you really think I couldn't tell? The way you evaluated everything, the questions about money, the sudden interest when you heard my last name? Then why—" Her tail lashed in agitation. "Why did I let it continue? Because I wanted to see how far you'd go. And because, underneath the gold digger, I kept hoping I'd find something real." "You lied to me," she spat, though the accusation rang hollow even to her own ears. "No," Daniel said firmly. "I never claimed to be wealthy. I never discussed money. You assumed and you pursued what you thought I had. I just didn't correct you." "But the penthouse, belongs to a friend who's overseas. I'm house-sitting. The cash purchase? That was a rumor the concierge got wrong. I'm just staying here temporarily." He pulled out his wallet, extracting a worn ID card. "I'm a social worker, Vivian. I counsel people struggling with addiction and poverty. My salary barely covers my actual apartment across town."
Vivian felt the floor drop out from under her. 3 months. 3 months of playing the devoted girlfriend, of fantasizing about her future as Mrs. Ashford, of already spending money she thought would come. "You played me," she whispered, her tail wrapping protectively around her own leg. "Did I?" Daniel's voice was sad rather than angry. "Or did you play yourself? I never promised you anything except my time and affection. That wasn't enough, was it?" She wanted to scream, to scratch, to tear apart this room that represented everything she'd thought she'd won. But his words struck too close to truth. "I need to leave," she said, already moving toward the bedroom to gather her things. "Wait." Daniel caught her arm gently. "Before you go, I want to show you something."
He led her to the locked drawer, producing a small key. Inside were photographs. Daniel in worn clothes, standing with people who looked homeless, addicted, broken. But there was something in those photographs, a light in his eyes and in the eyes of those around him. "This is my real work," he said. "These are people I've helped get back on their feet. Some are in rehab now, some have jobs, some have reconnected with their families." He pulled out one photo, a woman with rabbit ears smiling beside a young child. "This is Grace. When I met her, she was living in her car with her daughter. Now she manages a bookstore and has her own apartment." Vivian stared at the photographs, something uncomfortable twisting in her chest. "I grew up wealthy, Vivian. The Ashford fortune was real once, and I watched it corrupt everyone around me. My father who cheated investors, my mother who cared more about appearances than people, my brother who overdosed because no one noticed he was drowning." His voice cracked. "When it all collapsed, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I finally understood what mattered." "And you thought you'd teach me some kind of lesson?" Vivian's ears flattened defensively. "Is that what I was? A project?" "No," Daniel said, and the sincerity in his voice made her pause. "I hoped you might see past the money. There were moments, in bed when you laughed at my terrible jokes, when you fell asleep reading on the couch. I saw someone real underneath, someone who might want more than just security." His words cut deeper than any accusation, because he was right. There had been moments when she'd forgotten to calculate, when his kindness had felt like enough, when she'd caught herself caring. "I can't do this," she whispered, pulling away. "I don't know how to be that person."
Vivian moved back to her tiny apartment, the one she'd been so eager to escape. Her credit cards were paid off. Daniel had done that much before she discovered the truth, but she'd quit her job and now faced the consequences. She applied everywhere, her ears drooping with each rejection. 3-month employment gap? Why did you leave your last position? Because I thought I'd landed a wealthy husband. Because I'm a fool. 2 weeks of humiliation passed before she finally got hired at a coffee shop. Minimum wage, nothing glamorous. Her tail dragged as she walked to work each morning. One day, a familiar face appeared at her counter. "Small coffee, black," Daniel said, his smile tentative. Vivian's hands shook as she poured. "What are you doing here?" "I live nearby, remember? This is actually my regular spot." She slid the coffee across the counter, unable to meet his eyes. "That'll be $3.50. "Vivian." He waited until she looked up. "I'm not here to gloat. I miss talking to you." "I tried to use you," she said bluntly, her ears flat. "Why would you want to talk to me?" "Because people are more than their worst moments. Because I meant it when I said I saw something real in you. And because I think you're punishing yourself enough without me adding to it." Over the following weeks, Daniel became a regular. They'd talk during her breaks, cautious conversations at first, both testing boundaries. He told her about his clients, the small victories and heartbreaking setbacks. She found herself actually listening, asking questions that weren't calculated. One evening, he invited her to volunteer at the community center where he worked. "I don't know," Vivian hedged, her tail twitching nervously. "What could I possibly offer?" "Yourself," he said simply. "That's all anyone needs." She went, expecting to feel out of place. Instead, she found herself connecting with a teenage girl, a fox hybrid like herself, living in a group home, angry at the world. "Everyone just wants something from you," the girl spat during their first conversation. "I know exactly what you mean." Vivian's ears tilted back with recognition. "How would you know?" The girl's tail lashed. "Look at you with your fancy hair and expensive clothes." "These?" Vivian laughed bitterly. "I bought these on credit I couldn't afford, trying to look like someone I wasn't. I spent months dating a man I thought was rich, planning how to trap him into marriage. And you know what I learned?" The girl was listening now, ears perked forward. "I learned that chasing money makes you empty, that using people makes you hollow, and that the only thing worse than being poor is being someone you hate when you look in the mirror." Something shifted in the girl's expression.
So what do you do instead? I'm still figuring that out, Vivian admitted. But I think it starts with being honest, with yourself and everyone else, and maybe helping people who need it, not because you want something from them, but because it's the right thing to do. 3 months later, Vivian stood in Daniel's actual apartment, a modest one-bedroom with secondhand furniture and walls lined with books. They'd been rebuilding their relationship slowly, carefully, without the lies of luxury between them. "I brought dinner," she said, holding up a bag from the Thai place they both loved. "And I got the promotion. They're making me assistant manager." "Vivian, that's wonderful!" Daniel pulled her into a hug, and she felt her tail wrap around him naturally, without calculation. That night, when he kissed her, it was different from before. There was no expensive view, no silk sheets, no pretense. Just them, honest and real, and choosing each other. "I need to tell you something," Vivian said as they laid together afterward, her head on his chest. "I'm still not perfect. I still get jealous when I see expensive things. I still have moments when I want the easy life." "I know," Daniel murmured, stroking her ears gently. "Being honest about who you are is different from being who you were. And the woman you're becoming, she's worth more than all the Ashford fortune ever was." Vivian's eyes filled with tears, real ones, not the calculated ones she'd used before. "I love you," she whispered, "not for what I thought you had, but for who you actually are. I love you too, and I'm proud of who you're becoming." Outside, the city glittered with promises of wealth and status, but inside that modest apartment, Vivian had finally found something she'd been chasing all along without knowing it. A life built on truth instead of lies, connection instead of calculation, and love that asked for nothing but itself.